Welcome to episode 6, where I cover all the key chess patterns that you need to get better at chess. 515. King's in the corner, and I can see that it's going to be a back rank of some sort because we have this knight is defending two squares, the queen and the rook here. We just need to figure out which one works. The rook doesn't work because the knight can take and it's not going to be mate in two, which means we're going to start with the queen to deflect the checkmate defender. Knight has to take, it's forced. We hit him with the back rank. Clear and sacrifice time. We can see that if this rook's out of the way, that would be checkmate with the bishop and the knight. So the first move we're going to do is we're going to sacrifice the rook. King can't take, it's defended by the knight. Bishop has to take here, and the bishop slides in for the checkmate. 517. We want to play knight check here. Problem is that the rook's going to take it. So we need to remove the checkmate defender. First off, we sacrifice the rook. King can't take because it's defended by our rook. And then we can come in with the knight and deliver the checkmate in the corner. Just got to plug a hole here to stop the king from escaping. We use the coordination of our knight and rook that we've gained from doing so many hook mates to sacrifice the rook, knowing that the king can't take. The rook takes. We've deflected the checkmate defender, so we can come in with the knight. King can't escape because we plugged the hole he would have ran through. 519. Okay, the king's restricted. He can't go anywhere, which makes me want to play a check. I'm looking at this check. Problem is the knight takes it. We need to deflect the knight. We need to remove the checkmate defender of this square. We can do that by using the coordination of our knight and rook, so the king can't take. Rook to d4. That would be checkmate, so the knight has to take. We remove the checkmate defender, so a knight can jump in. 520. My intuition here was telling me to play this sideways hookmate here, and then after the pawn takes, I could play pawn up. Problem is the king can escape. So how do we fix this? We just got to sacrifice the rook on this square. This would be checkmate, so the bishop has to take. After the bishop takes, we can come in, finish him off with the pawn. 521. Got to sack the rook here to do a clearance sacrifice. We want to open up the scope of this bishop, so we can come in with our rook, using our opera mate theme that we've learned with the pawn helping out. Clear and sacrifice, king takes, opera mate. 522. My gut instinct was to play this, but it just doesn't work, so the knight's just going to take it. This is too slow, because after the knight takes, you can play this. It's going to be hard for them to stop the checkmate, but it ain't mate in two. The theme you really need to see, though, is our drunken opera mate sort of theme. Like an opera mate, but the rook's just one square off. Problem is the knight. We need to deflect the knight. We need to remove the checkmate defender by sacrificing the queen. If the king goes over, we just checkmate like this. But if they take with the knight, we get our drunken opera mate. 523. I love how these puzzles build upon each other. We had a puzzle not that long ago where we sacked the rook, and then we came in with our rook for a clearance sacrifice. Problem is now the king can escape, so it doesn't work. What we can do instead, force the king into the scope of our bishop, following up with a discovered checkmate like this with the bishop. If the king doesn't accept and goes down, we just need to see that this move doesn't work. It is the discovered check, and you are defending your rook. Problem is, king's going to take our pawn. It's not checkmate in two. So we just need to keep this rook on this rank defending the pawn, because the bishop is going to x-ray defend the rook anyway, so the king can't take. So rook here or here is going to be the correct answer. Discovered checkmate. King's looking a little bit too cozy here. We're going to have to soften him up by sacking the rook. King must take. It's forced. And you'll spot we've got our Arabian mate theme here. We can come in with the rook, giving the checkmate with the knight's help. 525. We'd love to play a pawn mate because that'd be really cool. Problem is we block the vision of our rook and the king can go down. How to fix this? If we go back, you can see that we're also x-ray threatening the pawn mate with this rook. Problem is the knight's in the way. We don't actually need this rook, so we can sacrifice the rook. That would be checkmate. Rook's defended, so the knight has to take here. Open up the scope of our x-ray attacker. We can come in and finish him off with a pawn. Brand new pattern in the series, we have our first balustra checkmate, which is very similar to a Bowden's checkmate, but there is a bit of a difference, combining with a double check decoy sacrifice tactic. First order of business, we're going to do a double check with the queen and the rook. If the king accepts our sacrifice, you need to see that we have a balustra checkmate. You'll start seeing it after this. Maybe this is the first time you've ever seen this. This is when the queen and the bishop team up in this crisscross sort of checkmate like this. If it's two bishops, that would be a Bowden's checkmate, which we haven't seen yet, I don't think. It's coming. If they don't accept our decoy sacrifice, instead playing king to g4 here, a bishop's protecting this way, so the queen can sneak in the back and deliver checkmate this way. 527. We're going to bust this king open. He's heavily fortified at the front, but he's only got one little fella at the back. So all we're going to do is remove this guy. We can play rook to f6, defended by the bishop, so the pawn has to take. We've busted him open. Knight and king are helping restrict the king. We can deliver the checkmate with the rook. 528. Luckily, I stayed in school just long enough to learn how to count to at least 2. You can see that if you check the king here, it's going to be checkmate. But two options, this knight, this knight. The shortcut to figuring this out, this square's defended once, this square is defended twice. There's no point playing this knight here because after the bishop takes, when you play this knight here, the queen's going to just take it. This is the weaker square. We want to deflect the bishop away from this by playing knight to e2 first. Bishop must take or it's checkmate, and then we can jump in with the knight, delivering the checkmate. Keep grinding those chess puzzles. I promise you your hard work's going to pay off if you keep at it.